back, family, to What Good Is a Song, the Friday Night Drum. We are here back in the studio after getting our political prisoner report, taking a quick break to get some water and talk among those guests in the studio who we have with us today. We've got Faythe and Yahannes in the studio with us to talk about something that I know absolutely nothing about, so I'm going to ask them questions as I normally do, but this time I'm asking because I have no idea what it is that they're bringing to the table. So I'm curious, and I know that we have many community members who are curious to know more about this as well. Before I say what that is, I'd like to welcome them to come on to the mics and introduce themselves a little bit as well.
Greetings, everyone.
Peace and blessedness.
Yes. So now that thing that I was talking about, I know it's initialism, CBD.
Yes.
That's all I know. So what is CBD?
Well, to put it plainly, it actually stands for cannabidiol. And cannabidiol is one of the elements that is actually found within the cannabis plant. It is the non-psychoactive, non-intoxicating form that you will find that the plant produces.
So you talked about the plant itself. So anytime I think most people, especially those of us who don't know what that is, that CBD is, we think about the plant, we just think about somebody smoking marijuana,
Right.
and the initial that we know are THC.
Yes.
So can you inform us and inform me as well, what is the difference between CBD, what you're bringing to the table today, and THC, what we're all familiar with, more familiar with?
Well, primarily, THC is what makes people usually get that high
That's the
sense.
psychoactive.
It is what's going to cause your body to feel very elevated. And the difference is that CBD actually relaxes the body. And the great thing about CBD that I have found in doing my research is that our body naturally produces what is called the endocannabanoid system. So we actually are, when we take in CBD, whether it's in an edible form, lozenge, water, you're replacing that deficiency as if you were replacing any form of vitamin or mineral that you need to sustain your body.
So this is something that's already in our body. You're telling me that it's not something that I get from the plant that we know as marijuana, but it's already in my body whether I have ever used marijuana before or not?
Yes.
Wow.
And actually, the first time that you receive CBD in your body is when you suckle on your mother's breast. And that form of CBD is actually 2AG. That is the compound that is produced in the mother's breast milk. And that's why babies usually feel very calm and relaxed once they start, getting those nutrients from the mother's milk. And then, as we age, we need to supply our bodies with other forms of cannabidiol to replace what we don't get from, we're not going to breastfeed for the rest of our lives. So
well, it's interesting that and I didn't know that information about the breastfeeding situation, and I'm sure, like I said, many community members didn't know it either, so we appreciate that information. But when you were mentioning it, I was thinking about some of the programming that happens on Friday mornings on I Radio. Sharice Nicole has a misconceptions about conception piece that she's done regularly. So I remember some things about the breastfeeding process and the length of time that we're supposed to undergo breastfeeding or continue. And in this society, it's a very abrupt end to that. And sometimes people don't get breastfed at all. So can you talk a bit about, since you mentioned that, about the effects on the human person that doesn't get breastfed as long as we should, and even more so those who don't get breastfed at all?
Okay. Well, I'm one of those babies. My mom, she did not breastfeed me. She stopped at the brother before me. And because CBD is linked to helping with a myriad of different conditions in the body, primarily anxiety, people that are dealing with a lot of pain and inflammation,
post-traumatic syndrome,
post-traumatic stress,
especially our Vietnam vets. This is what we're really pushing to really carry this over, because they truly needed it, and they need it now. And so that's one of the pushes that we're really, pressing to. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And even daily things like if people are suffering from headaches, migraines, constipation, all types of neurological generative disorders your body will experience if they're not getting the proper amount of CBD produced in their system. We were watching a video on YouTube, and it was talking about the story of CBD. And since 1992, the Israel University, in the Hebrew University in Israel, founded the quote-unquote compound CBD in the plant, and then as it relates to the human body. So there have been so many different studies, over 1,000 peer-reviewed studies on the medicinal benefits of CBD. I could go on and on to talk about as far as what it can do for your system. Primarily what I wanted to talk about is how it affects our brain center. Because our endocannabanoid system produces 350 receptors.
Yes, 350. Yeah.
350 receptors for the immune system alone. It helps to balance that completely. It creates that homeostasis for every single receptor in the immune system and the central nervous system. So if you're dealing with certain conditions in your body, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, things of that nature, a lot of people would benefit.
Even dementia. Really,
they would benefit from taking CBD in extract form. I know a lot of people are really, what we want to do is advocate the getting away from the tobacco smoking.
Okay.
And because CBD provides a lot of the, it stimulates the neurotransmitters in our bodies to help produce that serotonin and melatonin at, when we're ready to lay down. Those deficiencies are, they're combated. So people that usually, are anxious and feel like they have that nicotine fix that they need to, take on smoking or chew tobacco or whatever, it's combated. The CBD combats that sensation. And that's something why we really, feel like we want to educate people on the value of it, because the three main things that will help relieve stress in the body, CBD is one of those things. And we're all dealing with stress from a world global standpoint,
Absolutely. And we as African people, disproportionately so.
Yes.
Over the centuries we've been dealing with that, over the past several centuries, disproportionately because of the system of the world that has been putting more on our backs to carry.
Yes.
Relative to many other people. And it's funny though, because it sounds like to me that this CBD that you're bringing to the table is definitely a struggle against that kind of oppression, because the things that you mentioned that it's good for the human body, you're fighting a lot of capitalist industries that have gotten their fingers deeply rooted into the society. You talked about cigarettes, so you got big tobacco. You talked about pain, so you got pain and stress. You got pharmaceutical companies. You got medical industry that teaches the doctors to fill into that pharmaceutical industry. I mean, you've got a therapy industry that's catered to the pharmaceutical industry. So you've got the government that benefits from the lobbyists of those companies. So this is revolutionary.
Yes, it is. And you know what?
Go ahead.
There's a individual that we all know, Montel Williams, has been an advocate for CBD. I mean, he's been pushing this for over 17 years. And MS is a very serious break down the body, the bones, deficiency. So it's powerful what he has done and what he's still doing to this day.
From a legislation standpoint.
And I mean, he's pushing it, and a lot of people don't know, but it's so vast. It's so vast, yes.
And, you were talking about all of these different industries that are affected. CBD is actually patented by the government. So the abstract is actually US 6630507B1 for those that want to do the research on the government's patent on CBD. But there's also, because the president last year announced that the opioid dependency on certain pharmaceutical drugs has hit an all-time high.
Very high.
And because we are dealing with a severe amount of opioid dependency, CBD counteracts that completely. And the pharmaceutical companies are fighting left and right, even though CBD has been legalized in every single state, for people to be able to take it without having to go to a dispensary or without having to get a doctor's prescription. They can go into their local health food store or find a place that actually a retailer that supplies it. You find CBD in lip balms, you find it in pain ointments, you find it in so many different modalities to be able to get it into your system. And so, like you said, it's a big fight, you know, but I think the more that people are educated, the more that people know that it's not a drug and that our bodies naturally produce endocannabanoids, and because we have the ability to balance our systems through our mind power and using the herbs that are the healing of the nation, to sustain us.
And there's like 91 deaths, it says, a day on opioids. So you could just imagine, we see the youth out there, we know what's going on.
Right.
And this is our thing, also to continue to push this and to help youth too to come off of cigarettes, and nicotine. We know some is doing like 1 or 2 packs, and as we shared with them, as we sharing today, it's been powerful because some have really just changed their lives and just cut the nicotine and let it go. And that's a powerful thing,
Absolutely. I want to remind the listeners that you're listening to WRFG Atlanta. And in the studio, we're having a discussion about CBD with Faythe and Yahannes. And we really appreciate you spending your time with us today.
Yes,
we appreciate you for having us.
Absolutely. And that's another fight that I've heard so far that you're taking on, because you talk about opioid addiction. But for those who understand the politics of it, so you're fighting we mentioned the pharmaceutical companies, big tobacco,
right?
The government that's supported by lobbyists from these industries, and now you're talking about opioid addictions, drugs that are illegal according to the country, according to the federal government. However, we know that these international cartels that move the drugs into the United States, which does not grow the drugs, or at least grow the plants that the drugs are synthesized from, are backed by the government, the U.S. government. So on another level, you're fighting against the government that supported this kind of international drug trade. So how do you see victory coming through in this kind of massive struggle for our people?
I think that it's definitely going to start with individual focus on self-love.
Yes.
When a person recognizes the value of their well-being is an internal thing, they will start to see that there's so much up against them, and they will start to see that there's so much illusion that is put out here through propaganda. And I personally feel like a lot of our youth are waking up. Maybe some of our generations before us weren't willing to, what's the word I want to use? Look at the health spectrum because they were
Oh.
fighting against so much other types of oppression. They kind of put their health